Hello there everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids. In today's video, I think it's a great time to do a champion guide for Godseeker Aniri. She is right now a guaranteed champion if you pull 25 void shards. I wouldn't recommend pulling right now. I'd really recommend if you're free to play, low spender, even if you're a bigger spender perhaps, usually much better to save void shards for 2x events. However, again, you can check out my shard pull, when you should pull shards video, if you want to see more info on that. However, probably a lot of people are going to be getting her. I think the next 2x event is for voids, and for anyone who does pull her this weekend, here's a guide, or at least this guide can help you make your decision if you like what you see for Godseeker. So let's dive in. Let's take a look at her, shall we? Godseeker, she is an epic Void Affinity champion for Sacred Order. She's a defense-based champion as well. When we look at her kit, you're going to see, I think, a great comparison. She actually is quite like Syl of the Drakes in a lot of ways, right? In an awful lot of ways. Let's dive in. So her A1, Blade of Blessings, attacks one enemy, heals the ally with the lowest HP by 5% of their max HP, can't heal Godseeker herself though, and the damage is based off of defense. By the way, her multipliers are actually pretty good. She has a 3.6 times defense multiplier on her A1. Her A2 does an AoE attack for 3 times multiplier on her defense. So these multipliers are very similar to Syl. They're slightly better than Syl, but Syl has slightly more base defense and crit damage. So they're going to do comparable damage, right? If you build her up to do damage, she's actually going to be hitting pretty hard, which is a very useful thing. It's a very cool thing that she brings in her kit, whilst also doing other stuff. Her A2 then, her A1 it's decent, by the way. It's decent. It's not amazing. It's only a small amount of healing, but it sort of slowly adds up over a fight. Quest for Meaning, now this is her big move. Actually, her even bigger than these other ones, which people probably don't realize when you first look at her kits. But 3-turn cooldown when booked, attacks all enemies, heals all allies by 15% of their max HP, decreases the duration of all buffs on all enemies by 1 turn, and increases the duration of all buffs on all allies by 1 turn. This is super good. This is so phenomenally good. Yeah, this ability is amazing. Number 1, it's a solid AoE hit. It does good damage. Number 2, it's doing a nice chunky heal to your team. Not the biggest heal in the world, but a good solid AoE heal. But it's the buff manipulation that makes her so special. The offensive side of it, decreasing enemy buffs by 1 turn, is very good for Hydra. Outside of Hydra, it's not that strong, maybe okay in Arena, but that's kind of about it. It's a useful thing to have, but it's not a game changer in that sense. But for Hydra, this is really good to bring this removing enemy buffs on your reviver, on your healer. That's so useful for Hydra. Then the big part of this is that it increases the duration of all buffs and all allies by 1 turn on a 3-turn cooldown. This is a game-changing ability. A lot of the best, and this is what makes her one of the best choices for endgame content like this, a lot of the best buffs. So for example, Lydia, let's look at some of the best buffs and debuffs in the game, right? Lydia's Siren's Wail does decrease defense and weaken, but it also does strengthen and increase speed on your team for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. Another classically amazing combo with Godseeker is Brogni, right? Brogni, block debuffs, increase attack, and a huge shield for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. This is like the gold standard for the best buffs in the game. They're used nearly always 3-turn cooldowns that give you the buff for 2 turns, which means that there's 1 turn there where these buffs fall off and you are vulnerable. In comes Godseeker and says, no, 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 Lydia, do your buff, Brogni, do your buff, Quest for Meaning. Now they last for 3 turns. The 3 turns go through, they reapply the buffs, she extends it again. And you just have complete coverage with those buffs, which means specifically for clan bosses is where this is the best. Against the Demon Lord clan boss or against the Hydra bosses, it means you've complete coverage. You're never going to be vulnerable, which is very important because those bosses are just constantly dealing out massive damage and doing really nasty things to your team, and they protect you from that. To give you, again, this would be... I'm not going to be showing Demon Lord in this video. So this is a budget super tanky clan boss. So this is endgame, right? Where obviously you've beaten faction wars and you have Lydia. Brogni and Iron Braga were fusions last year. Then we've got 2 epic champions. You can check this out. YST actually is a really good video on this. It does over 100 million damage. 100 million damage on Ultra Nightmare. And Godseeker is a fantastic, really good addition to this team. Sandlash Survivor is pretty much the only other epic that can take her place. She doesn't bring the healing that Godseeker does or the revival, but she's also defense based and can extend your buffs. But yeah, Godseeker fits in super well. You need her to be running super fast and have these champions. I'm not going to show it in today's video, but check out YST if you do want to see it. For one example of how this is just Godseeker tier for Demon Lord. Her revive then is Rise of Glory, 4-turn cooldown when booked, revives a dead ally with 50% HP, fills their turn meter by 50%, and resets the cooldown on all their skills. I believe this is completely unique. I don't believe there's another champion that can do this in the game. And this combos exceptionally well with, again, I would say probably the best example would be something like Royal Guard and Hydra, right? Where Royal Guard comes in and he has a big cooldown, 4-turn cooldown on takedown, big enemy max HP AoE, a huge smack. Husk also has a similar thing with Despair. Enemy max HP, 4-turn cooldown, big smack. Long cooldowns, and with Royal Guard in particular, Royal Guard is quite a squishy champion. He's going to be hard enough to keep alive, but it means that in Hydra, when he dies, Godseeker revives him, picks him back up, resets his ability, and then he goes in with that big AoE smack again. He gets it back quicker. So this is a fantastic ability. Great for something like Arena as well. It's just a great ability all around. Then we have her passive, Guardian Angel. This has a passive effect, which increases the amount of healing allies receive by 10%. Okay. Then it has an active effect, bucks down to a 4-turn cooldown. If an ally is about to get killed by a fatal hit, preempts that hit, and instantly places Revive on Death on them for 1 turn before the damage is taken. So again, very cool, right? She can actually do this on herself as well, so she can kind of protect herself. You know, when you do get Revive on Death, you do come back pretty weak. You come back with no turn meter, and I think you're on like 20%, 25% HP, something really low, so you're very vulnerable. But again, this is where her A1 comes in, and can do a bit of targeted healing, or A2 does a big nuke of healing to try protect them. If they die again, she can then targeted revive. So yeah, it's super useful. And as you can see, very much like Seal of the Drakes, where they got an A1, which is kind of has a minor effect to it, a big nuke, A2, AoE, and a single target revive. I'd say the difference is, the big difference between her and Syl, and like what a comparison, Seal of the Drakes being of course your 6-month login reward legendary, and considered one of the better legendaries in the game, that basically changes everyone's account when you get her. Godseeker is so similar. I'd say the difference being that Syl brings AoE stun, which makes, in my opinion, Syl more useful for dungeons or Doom Tower, where you want to control the waves, and Godseeker then really shines in things like Clan Boss, where you know you can't stun bosses, right? Or against bosses in general, you can't stun bosses, but having good coverage of your buffs and removing buffs from those bosses is absolutely clutch. In terms of her build, this is where you've got options. You've got tons of options in terms of gearing her. Okay, I've gone for a fairly all-around build, and what I've done is her base stats are solid, nothing too crazy. You know, she's a little bit on the squishy side, but not too bad. But I've cranked her up to 40,000 HP. She's got 4,000 defense. Attack doesn't do anything. Got her up to 224 speed, 100% crit rate, a decent amount of crit damage, and then she's got a bit of resistance and a bit of accuracy. So I've got her quite widely spread, and this is where you maybe want to make a few more dramatic decisions of where am I going to use Godseeker. So for example, if you say I want to use her in Arena and I don't really care if she's doing damage, but I want her to be my reviver in Arena, in that case you could crank up her HP much higher, her speed a bit higher, and just ditch the crit rate and crit damage entirely, and maybe up her resistance and ditch accuracy. If you are using her in, let's say, YST's super tanky clan boss team here, Demon Lord team, you need to crank her speed up to like 255, but you could drop her defenses way down, right? You could actually dump her HP, because on this team specifically, Brogni gives a shield, a huge shield, and Taragi also gives a huge shield. So she's always protected by shields. Brago also provides defense, so you could actually ditch your defenses, HP and defense in that case, in order to crank her speed up more. And again, for Clan Boss, you're really looking for, again, that high crit rate and some crit damage, so she can actually contribute good damage, because every bit of damage in Clan Boss counts. And yeah, this is a pretty overall build, which is working well for me in Hydra. I might want to commit more to resistance or accuracy for higher levels of Hydra. That's something to consider. I could crank her speed up a bit more. In terms of her specific pieces and her gear sets, I have her right now in a speed set and a regen set. I was intending to rebuild her before I did this video, just because I think regen set is really good for her to keep her alive, because she can't heal herself with her A1, for example, and you want her to stay alive because she is your reviver. But her HP for me is a bit low for regen set to work. You really want more like, 60,000 plus HP for regen set to really start getting really good value. But that's okay. There's plenty of sets. She's good in nearly every single set. So speed sets, I'd say, are particularly good to get her speed high. Again, if you need accuracy set or perception is good. Immunity set would be great for arena. Regen set, if you have high HP to keep her alive, is great. Relentless would be fine. Can't go wrong with that. Honestly, it's hard to go wrong with sets. I think Stalwart set's a really good option here for clan boss stuff. 30% less damage from AoE. And this allows you to be flexible with your build and not have crazy high defenses. I think for me, if I could get her into Stalwart with these same stats, it would be better than Regen, for example. It would actually keep her alive more. But you get the idea, right? She can go in nearly everything. She's very, very flexible in terms of what sets you go for. For the specific pieces, her weapon has speed, HP percent, crit rate, crit damage. It's a perfect weapon for her. Unfortunately, only 5-star. Helmet has tons of defense percentage and crit rate. Unfortunately, no speed, but there you are. Her shield has speed and crit damage and some defense and resistance. Crit rate on her gloves to get her crit rate higher. Only 5-star gloves. They got speed and HP on them, so I could put better gloves on her. That could potentially be an upgrade. She has a very nice chest piece. 60% defense on the chest, crit damage, crit rate, tons of speed and HP. That's a really good chest. And then she has speed on the boots, and these boots could be better too. But you get the sort of idea here. If you wanted to make her faster, you could put more speed on these pieces of gear. If you want to up her defenses, you could ditch crit rate and put a HP percent or a defense percent glove on her. All this sort of stuff, it depends on what team you're going with. For her ring, I'd be going for defense or HP ring with defense percent and HP percent on the substats. Your best one, unfortunately mine's only rare, but it is 6-star, so it's pretty decent. I have her in a HP amulet. With lots of accuracy, resistance, and crit damage on it, and defense too, so really nice substats. And to crank up her HP some more, because she is low on HP for me, you could put her in a crit damage amulet. I think this one might be crit damage. Yeah, okay. I could put her in this crit damage amulet. We could compare it. And this would be maybe a good one for some clan boss stuff, where she'd really sacrifice the HP, but she'd start to hit a lot harder and give her more accuracy. That could be a good option too as well, if she's staying alive just fine. And then an accuracy banner is good as well. This one has lots of attack on it, so it's not the best, but you get the gist. You could put her in whatever banner you want. If you got enough accuracy and you don't need her to remove debuffs, so if you're doing just your super tanky Demon Lord clan boss who you don't care about his buffs too much, you could put her in a resistance banner or a health banner, defense banner, whatever you need. There is a lot of flexibility, which does make her sometimes tricky to build. You have to decide which way you're building her, but it is what it is. For her masteries, this is a Hydra setup here that I've got, because this is where I'm using her, and I'll show her in Hydra today. I have her with a War Master in the offense tree, which just ups her damage massively in PvE, and she's attacking nearly every round, so I do recommend it. Also getting the crit rate and crit damage, Life Drinker to help her stay alive, that sort of stuff I think is worthwhile. Then going down the defense tree, picking up Retribution so she can counterattack, and Cycle of Revenge to give her turn meter. Now, if you are using her in strictly speed-tuned content, which might be the future of Hydra, certainly if you're using her in super tanky clan boss, you would not want her with Cycle of Revenge. You'd want to ditch that and take Deterrence instead, right? Because this is going to throw out your speed tune and she's going to outrun the buffs and just die. So be careful of that, right? That's one thing to be careful of. You can run her down support tree as well. You can go left side for more HP and more healing. That's actually really good. If you need accuracy, you can go down the right side for more accuracy. That's also a good option too. The only issue with the support tree I find is that when you get to this row down here, there's kind of a lack of stuff to get, like increased debuff duration, she has none. Placing debuffs, she has none. Increasing buffs, she doesn't place any buffs. Spirit Haste is pretty good though, which gives you speed for each dead ally, get to your revive quicker. That's a solid option. And then you could run her in for arena. You could do support and defense for arena. It would be really good if that's your focus. or you just really want her to stay alive and revive people. Or you could go support tree and, I don't know, maybe grab like kill streak or something. It gets a bit wonky there. You kind of at a loss for the third mastery to take in that particular case. But yeah, some ideas there for mastery builds too. Like I said, it really depends on where you want to use her. Let's take a look at her in a few different areas. Unfortunately, Faction Wars is not open right now for Sacred Order, not for 5 days, so I can't show her there. But she's probably the best champion, arguably, in the faction for that faction war. Reviving, doing tons of damage, keeping people alive. She's great. I was messing around with some arena teams, and I was kind of struggling a bit to make it work. We could try super tanky versus super tanky here. Let's try a normal team first. This would be a nice, easy win, wouldn't it? Let's try this. This is a pretty standard team. Let's see if we can survive the onslaught. I was trying her with this team. I don't know if it really worked well enough, to be honest. With the idea was that she could combo well with Mother Cybele, because Mother Cybele, whenever she dies, she fully heals an ally with low HP, and then whenever she's revived, she'll heal everyone and fill their turn meter. So the idea was that Mother Cybele would die, and Godseeker would automatically put revive on death on her. She'd pop up and boost us. What I've actually found in practice is that it didn't work. Let's put in like Lydia. I know this is a bunch of epic legendaries, excuse me. I mean, let's just see if it works. We're kind of midway through Gold 4, so it's pretty tough. I'm not sure if it will work. Let's find out. Okay, so provoke on Iron Brago. We got debuffs coming in. Uh-oh. Oof, and we're dead. Okay, so that didn't work at all. Unfortunately, right there, we fell apart. I don't have the top tier defensive arena champion, so Duchess to compete at this level, this didn't work at all. So I don't have a Duchess. I don't have Ursaga. Helior sort of trying to compensate for Ursaga, but it didn't work right there. This team will probably be the exact same thing. Gosh, what could we make this work against? It's kind of awkward to make it work. You're relying on having other champions, for sure. Brogni could be good. You know, we could try. Will we try it with Brogni, the same team? Madame would strip it off. That wouldn't work. Let's try it against this team. Let's switch out. They have a few debuffs, don't they? They do. Let's put in Brogni. Let's see her with Brogni. Let's see how this works. Brago is in here to do damage. She's not booked up though, which might be an issue. And we'd really need to kill Duchess. So here we go. We're getting debuffed, but we've debuffed him right back. He's going to do his thing. We're going to shield up and block some debuffs. We'll see if that's enough. She's going to do stuff, which doesn't affect us too much. And then look at all that decreased buff duration and increasing our buffs. That's not bad. So against a tanky team, let's see how this runs. We need to kill Duchess, otherwise they're just going to revive. Okay, this is going reasonably well so far. Unfortunately, she's being targeted, which I don't like. Let's see how it goes. This is going to take a while, I think. It's going to take a while. She comes in, she smacks. Yeah, Duchess is so tanky. So tanky. Yeah, I mean, we're trying to nuke them down, but we just can't quite get it. One nice thing is that we are landing more debuffs on them, though, because we have this better coverage, which is pretty cool. Godseeker, gonna smack there. He's gonna reapply his buffs. Okay, Godseeker then should come around and extend these buffs before they fall off, which is gonna be good. Maybe we'll get there. I think we might eventually kill her. And because of Godseeker doing the buff stuff, here we go. Boom, we come in, and again, she decreases their buff duration and increases ours. Yeah, the only issue is that our team sort of lacks the damage to actually bust on through, because Brago just doesn't do enough damage. But neither team's gonna die. Like this, against, if they're running a super tanky team, this could be a viable arena defense. I think we're gonna have to leave. Because, yeah, I'll leave it run until like 2 minutes, but I don't think we have enough DPS on this team, unfortunately, to actually bust through against her. Like, he's trying his best, but we get her to like half health. Maybe eventually. We'd really need Lydia to like land her decreased defense. It's close. Like, as soon as she dies, we win. Okay, this could be an opportunity to get more damage. My Brago's not booked, which is a problem. If Brago was booked, we'd be doing a lot more. He's also very slow. So if I could rebuild my Iron Brago as a better person here, this could work. Oh, she's half dead. And then the shield comes out. The shield comes out and she starts to heal up. Yeah, we might win eventually, but we're not going to sit through the rest of that. It's going to take a year. I don't really care about losing. So you get the against the tanky team. That worked pretty okay. This team is sort of similar. Let's try it against this, but with a Rotos this time. Do we want to bring in him, or do I want to bring somebody else in? Helior would remove buffs, debuffs, so they don't have it. Who could I bring in instead? I mean, we could bring in a damage dealer instead, just some big nuker, like Krutraxa. That might work. Try block revive. Yeah, it's good. Let's try that. Let's see how this works, this sort of comp. Learning together. Now, I don't actually use her in Arena. That's one thing to note. So here we're actually too slow. That's one issue here. And then, yeah, they've got all these buffs on, so that's kind of bad. But Aniri should hopefully reduce these durations, which is good. We need to get a go pretty soon. Bam. Aniri actually outsped him right there, but she got a reflex proc. Got a refresh accessory proc, so she'll do it again next turn. That's actually okay. I'm just nervous about Rotos taking extra turns, because, you know, Rotos is a jerk like that. She smacked him. It did okay damage, but it didn't get the kill. Let's hit Rotos. Bam. Krutraxa doing her job. Good job, Krutraxa. Lydia will block revive. In fact, we might even be able to put block active skills on her to delay that an extra turn even. Martyr smacking my Krutraxa there. That hurt quite a bit. Boom. Here we go. I think we're good. If we could kill her, that makes it super easy. And bam, Krutraxa does it. Maybe this is the team, just a big single target nuker. I mean, okay, she's a Void Legendary. She revives herself anyway. Bam, 12k from Godseeker. Godseeker hitting hard as well. Yeah, there we go. We did it, boys. We did it. She's unkillable. God's sakes. We'll get there. Eventually. I think Little Miss Annie. I also have a Little Miss Annie, only level 50. There we go. Godseeker decreases buff duration, removes the unkillable. Okay, that's the showcase we're looking for. We can see in the stats, Godseeker, she did a bit of damage. This is why you probably wouldn't build her for damage for Arena, but her buff manipulation was actually pretty cool. And then Krutraxa got the kills that we needed, so that worked well. Okay, you get the idea. She's okay for Arena. You'd probably want a different build for her, though. But again, another champion she might combo with very quickly would be, who I haven't built out properly yet, but Little Miss Annie. I think she has like a fun, she's got about a billion things, but when revived, attacks the enemy that killed this champion with the default skill, fills her turn meter, and shield buff on her equal to 50% of her max HP. So she could come in as this huge single target nuker, really big single target attacks, and just rip through people, and then revive on death from Godseeker whenever Annie dies, picking her back up. I mean, she's a Void Legendary, though, so are you going to build it to combo with her? Probably not. I think Mother Sybil will be the best one to combo with, but you have to try and make Mother Sybil die somehow. Let me show you the big area where I am using Godseeker. So I've been fiddling around with some teams. I'm going to come back to this team. This was a team suggestion. I'm just going to show it starting on auto. I'm not going to run it the whole way through, but this was a team suggestion. I can't remember the name of the person who left the comment. I'm going to do a full video on this, though, when we get further in. But Godseeker's coming in on this team. And what is she doing with this particular team? Again, it's an idea we've talked about before. It's that Lydia and Brogni give us these crucial buffs, and then Godseeker extends them. So look at this now. Everyone has multiple turns on their shield, speed, strengthen, block debuffs, increase attack. We have tons of this. So she's basically upping all of our buffs. She's also, in this case, we have Shamail to stop this head applying fears, right? But she also does a very similar thing against, sorry, excuse me, with the other option. The other way to deal with this fear head is to put Perfect Veil on your team. You could put her in with Tatura Rhymehide, who was the last fusion. You could put her in with a really good combo with Rector Drath, right? But the issue with both of those champions is they put Perfect Veil for 2 turns on a 4-turn cooldown. That's a big cooldown. Godseeker comes in and says, don't worry about it. We're not going to have, half of our turns still vulnerable to getting True Feared and ruining our run. It's going to be okay. We're going to, who will I target? I guess I'll target this head again. What we're going to do instead, I'm going to extend that Perfect Veil so it just lasts longer. And we are safer. We don't have to worry about it. Like right here now, this is a bit of a pain in the ass. My Umbral Enchantress isn't fully booked, so these guys have buffs on. Hopefully we'll come around soonish and Godseeker can strip some of these off. We'll see. Is she going to get around to it? We shall see. Hopefully so. But yeah, this is a sort of Hydra team where she works really well. She's going to come in. Godseeker's actually skipped Brogni in the turn order because she's so quick now. With the Masteries, I believe. But yeah. Let's see. Will she do her thing? If Shemale ever finishes shooting stuff. We'll see. Does she have it? Can we see this buff strip just to show you what it does? Maybe one day. Ah, she didn't have it this turn. Okay, bummer. I guess maybe after next turn with Brogni. Lydia's very quick, so that could be part of it for sure. But yeah, so the idea here is that she's healing us, keeping us alive. In this circumstance, she's the only reviver, but she can revive our team and keep us running. And we're slamming out the damage here. We're doing pretty well. Like, yeah, if Shemale ever dies, she's there to pick him up. Not once, but twice with her passive and then with her direct revive. Just, again, keep us in the game. Keep us doing what we need to do. Boom, here she comes, increasing our buffs, decreasing theirs. Really nice, and that good chunky heal, you get to really see it in action. So yeah, she's fantastic for Hydra. I think she's, not only this is my best team this run, but she was in my best team last run as well, where just, again, with Shemale that time, but boosting ally protection, Lydia buffs, Arbiter buffs, she's just super good for this endgame Hydra stuff, so good. We've already looked at the Demon Lord stuff. Can't show you Faction Wars. Doom Tower, honestly, she's not great for Doom Tower. She's probably pretty okay against some of the bosses, but that's pretty much about it. She's not great for floors, really. Floors, you're more trying to control the enemies. She could be okay for normal, but I think for endgame hard, I think that Sylve the Drakes does the same job, but better. And then she's obviously going to work just fine in whatever, in your dungeon. She's going to be fine. If we throw her in to, I mean, let's throw her into a relatively normal run here. I'll remove a speed team and let's do a more budget composition here. So we'll bring her in. We will bring in, let's bring in Royal Guard. Attack Aura, that'll actually be perfect. Let us bring in Archmage so we clear stuff a little bit faster. Let's bring in Ugo. This might be too much healing, but that's okay. Actually, again, the passive from Godseeker upping Ugo's healing is pretty nice. And let's bring in Husk. Yeah, let's see this run. So this is a couple of max HP nukers, and if they do die, that's pretty cool. I think they probably won't die. I think Godseeker will keep them alive. But, you know, we get our buffs from Archmage, and then they get extended. And you can see she's smacking pretty hard. She's smacking pretty hard. She's doing about half the damage of our main damage dealers. Hitting as hard as Archmage. Yeah, maybe slightly more than half. But, I mean, she's not doing bad damage by any means. For AoE, doing a decent chunk. Nothing compared to their big AoEs. I think they're coming around to those nukes now. But yeah. Ooh, this is good. Yeah, yeah. If he dies... In fact, if he dies, she'd bring him back with takedown ready to go. I think he has takedown off cooldown anyway. But yeah, I mean, if he dies, it's not a huge deal. So if you have worse gear, or you only have one of these nukers and your dude gets taken out, no problem. She'll pick him back up. So here we go against the dragon. Again, this is just to give you an idea. She's smacking it for 20k. It's not bad. It's not bad by any means, shape, or form. So there's this little bit of damage and just tons of healing coming out, keeping us alive, keeping our buffs on. I'd love if the dragon killed someone and she could revive them. I guess it would revive on death with her passive first. It's unlikely. I think we're just going to smash through this dragon, no problem. But you get the idea. Here we go. We might get to see some of her healing. I think Ugo probably have a heal first. I mean, not takedown. There we go. Boom. Again, it's not a massive heal. It's not going to fill them up. It's 15% of their max HP. But it is a consistent chunk of healing that adds up over time. And we come to the end of the run, and we can see in terms of damage output that for the supportive champions, Godseeker is ahead of Helmet. She's ahead of Ugo. Simply mostly because she's attacking every single turn, and she does hit hard. And that is, again, without her having increased defense on, which would have upped her damage. And in terms of healing, she's put out some really solid healing here as well. Heals more than Ugo in this particular circumstance. And she's also bringing that revive if we are in trouble. So, yeah, I think that's a pretty good oversight of Godseeker Aniri. You're obviously going to see her in some full runs. You can check out a full run on Hydra if you want. I put all my runs from Hydra Rotation 2 Week 1, and she was obviously in there, of course. She's going to be in, and basically always going to be in one of my Hydra teams because she's so good. But yeah, she's a fantastic epic, really strong. In terms of where people are finding her useful, again, Faction Wars, Clan Boss, campaign, people actually find her very useful. Arena defense, again, she can fit into your team's offense. Dragon's Lair, all the rest. Pretty much good everywhere. Weaker in Fire Knight and Spider. That's pretty straightforward. Again, I tend to not use her too much in the dungeons. I tend to go for Syl instead. But she's a really good combo with Syl. If you're in progression, you could put them in together. And then, again, the idea for Arena. I'm trying to think of, like, what would be a good Arena defense with her in there. I just have just him on his own. Without using crazy legendaries that you might not have. That's kind of a tough call. You kind of need the legendaries to compete in Arena. But I mean, you could even put her in a speed team. You could even put her in with Arbiter, and she's going to extend that and give you extra sources of revive and healing and just keeping you safe. She could be fantastic, even with Arbiter. And then you could put in like your nuker of choice. I say like we stick in a Skull Crown as well. And whatever, like Helmet could be okay. We probably want some crowd control with this team. We could put in something like Umbral. That would probably be a pretty good team. We've got tons of healing, nuking, reviving. Pretty nice actually. If let's try it. Let's try it in one run. Let's try it in one run. So would they outspeed me? They might. They could easily outspeed me. My champions aren't that quick. I'm trying to see. Is there like a team that looks reasonably slow? This team doesn't look that good. Oh, this team is very similar as well. It really comes down to speed. My Arbiter's not super quick, unfortunately. So if we take these out, let's do this real fast. Let's do it. Arbiter. We've got Godseeker in there as well. Let's put in our Skull Crown for nuking. And we'll put in Umbral. This would work better if Umbral was faster. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. It's an exciting moment. It's not an exciting moment. This is a terrifying moment. She put Revive on Death. So actually bad combo with her. Didn't work. Right, we can try to strip off some of their buffs with Arbiter. Godseeker could help with that as well. Unfortunately, Godseeker's dead and we're dead. Didn't work, team. So bad combo with Skull Crown. And yeah, the issue there is speed. Big time speed. Let's try this team. Let's take out Skull Crown. Let's take her out as well. Let's give us more speed. So I'm going to cheat. I'm going to put in Lana because he's actually fast. So this is more like what I might actually use. And let's put in some nuker. Whoever. It doesn't matter. Do I want to put in a legend? I'm just going to cheat and put in... I'll put in Ethos. Let's cheat. So I want to end on a win. Too depressing otherwise. Shouldn't have done this part. Part of the video is a bad idea. Unfortunately, Godseeker, she hit them really hard. It would have been cool to see her strip off this buff. Unfortunately, it didn't work out, but that's okay. Should kill this just fine. Again, even when people die, she just picks them back up. That's pretty nice. So she does her job there. She does okay. Did a good chunk of damage, actually. Look at that, 54k. It's not bad. And she obviously did a big chunk of healing, too. So, I don't know. You get the idea. I should cut the video. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.